What was the best moment you've seen where the real world hit a spoiled rich kid? I grew up with rich kids and still keep in touch with a few of them. One guy's father owned the most prestigious law firm in town. He said his life changed the moment he called his father from jail. The second time it happened, his father said, "Well, sorry to hear you got arrested. Good luck." Then hung up. He said getting locked back into his cell was the singular moment that completely turned his life around. I knew this rich kid from high school that went off to college and partied every single night. His parents found out that he was failing basically all of his classes. So they secretly drove up early one Saturday morning with a spare set of keys to the car they had bought him and just drove off with the car. Somewhat distant relative spent all of his university years and 20s partying hard with a /100-120K allowance his rich company-owning father gave him each year. He'd travel the world each year, going to Bali, Thailand, Europe, every year Oktoberfest, just rampaging. At 32 or so he decided to settle in an upscale ski resort area of the US and open a business with his hot gold digger fiancée. When he went to transfer his money to his US bank account, he noticed it only came to a few $1,000s. He angrily asked the bank worker why she hadn't transferred the entire amount, only to be told that that was the entire amount. His father had cut him off without saying anything and he just hadn't noticed. Absolute flatline. Classmate in college failed his course. Partied for a year with daddy's money. Never studied. Ever. Thing is, inheriting his father's construction company, 2 quarries, a fleet of trucks and equipment, depended on him manning up and passing the class. All he had to do was learn the basics of mechanical diagnostic and repair, and be set for life. I had a roommate my freshman year of college that came from an incredibly rich oil family from the Middle East. I remember him having the hardest time adjusting to not having someone else prepare him food. I remember waking up one morning and going to the kitchen and seeing him try to eat eggs and toast he had just prepared himself. He asked me how I normally prepare fried eggs because his tasted really crunchy. Turns out he had just cracked the egg hole into the pan and prepared it shell and all. I couldn't stop laughing but felt really bad for the dude. Administration and faculty at a university refused a substantial offer of endowment money from a couple that wanted their son enrolled as an art major. Their son couldn't meet the minimum scholastic entrance requirements and he had little aptitude for art. Still, with their millions, he thought money would buy his way to an easy degree as an art major. He was dumbfounded to receive a notice of non-admittance. I knew a guy in high school who bragged that he didn't have to pay attention in school because, get this, his grandfather was a vice president of the corporation that supplied the cardboard for cereal boxes for General Mills. Real gravy train. You know, last I checked, since deleted Facebook, he was still working at Best Buy 5 years after high school. Same job he had in high school. One of my college roommates told his parents the trip we were planning, that they were paying for, was $400 more expensive than it was, so he could buy a really nice bong. In addition, they basically paid for everything he wanted. He had their credit card and ordered food on it at least once daily. He also would make $50 purchases off the card pretty regularly. Long story short, they found out he lied about the cost of the trip. For whatever reason they still paid and let him go. But after the trip he could not use their card anymore. This dude acted like he lived the hardest life of all time afterwards. But eventually sucked it up. He actually acts way less entitled now. It ended up having a lasting positive effect for him, even though he wouldn't admit it. While working in a casino here in Las Vegas, a herd of girls came to my window. And one proceeded to tell me about her great birthday party itinerary that her dad had paid for her 18th birthday. With no adult in the party. Just a bunch of teenage girls. Out in Vegas. Where none of them could do anything because none of them were 21. I couldn't even check them into their reservation. They start yelling and screaming at me. I calmly call security, and security tells them they can either go play in the arcade or leave and try to find a hotel off the strip that will take them in W/out being 21. The anger turns to tears. The security guard is unmoved. at a Starbucks, and she thought apparently people gave her parents free drinks and such for her all these years. Like the cashier told her the total and she said, "Wait, I don't get it for free?" She never realized her parents swiping their cards all those years was paying for her things, I guess. Nothing too serious. But I taught at an international school in Africa, and we would take the high school students camping 1 week out of the year. Many of these kids are not used to camping at all and have never even taken public transport. They have full-time drivers bring them to school and pick them up. Some of them are from very wealthy and politically connected families. Having to set up tents and get dirty, not be able to shower every day, and sleep on hard ground is new to them. Some of them actually love it, but others are sad, pathetic wretches the entire week. I went to a very rich, predominantly white Catholic high school. One moment I remember was the wind absolutely being taken out of a girl's sails when I explained to her why our school dominated the area's skiing, golf, and equestrian competitions, but never anything else. For a lot of kids in that school, the moment they learned they were rich was the moment they learned that most girls don't have their own horses growing up. Local rich kid had his SUV parked in a no parking area at a club. Tow truck shows up to tow it away and the kid goes ballistic. "Do you know who my dad is?" etc. to the driver. After a minute or two of this, the passenger gets out of the tow truck and is a full patch Hell's Angel. The biker politely tells him it doesn't matter who he thinks his family is, and the SUV is towed away. I knew a kid in high school whose parents were loaded. When he got his driver's license, they bought him a $70,000 Mercedes. Within a month or two he totaled the car while driving drunk. Parents pulled strings to get him off the full weight of the DUI. Oh. And they bought him another $70,000 Mercedes. He overdosed on a shitload of drugs and booze when he was 23. He's dead. I knew one who apparently couldn't fathom how people live on a budget. We used to hang out a lot at her insistence, but she liked to eat at expensive places, whereas I'd have no issue having my meals somewhere cheaper. However, she kept pouting and insisting I stay. I said I couldn't unless she wanted to spot me. She didn't. I then walked her through the math and showed her that the cost of my meals with her every day totaled my entire wage for the month. She didn't stop pouting, but from then on I could eat by myself in peace. One of my college roommates was very rich growing up. I didn't realize just how rich until I had to explain to her what a coupon was in very extensive detail. On multiple occasions she bragged that she wasn't even interested in her major, philosophy, or college in general. But she was at uni because her parents were requiring her to get a degree. Any degree. In order to get access to her trust fund. I don't remember ever seeing her go to class, and she eventually got expelled sophomore year over academic dishonesty. I guess this was the last straw for her parents because they cut her off pretty soon after that. This actually served as a wake-up call. She somehow managed to get a public health degree at a different school in spite of the academic dishonesty listed on her transcript. She's doing pretty well for herself these days. We've kept in touch, and last we talked she was considering grad school. Rich scummy injury lawyer's kid was in my class in HS. Goes to college, mid-sized school in the Midwest, and gets plastered drunk. Parents bought him and his friends alcohol since freshman year, so nothing new, and RA says he has to write him up for alcohol in the dorms. Punches 2 RAS. Then gets cops called on him and knocks a cop's tooth out. Long story short, his parents have to drive back 6 to 7 hours after one day to get him, and he's not even allowed to leave the state until his hearing. Last I heard he's working at a fast food establishment. In a country with high alcohol taxation, rich kids enter pub. Like 10 to 12 of them. Throw card at bartender. Demanding shots. What would y'all like? Whatever, LOL. Dad is paying LMAO. Bartender pours double J. W. Blues for all the brats and some randoms that they treated. Brat with card had tears in his eyes when the tap came in. Dad's going to kill me. I did enjoy the free whiskey though. Here's a switch. Highly successful local doctor/politician expects son to attend medical school and become doctor. Son opts out. Gets job with new company called Costco. Pumping gas. He's been with that company ever since. Just his regular pay raises and bonus checks give him a good life. He just didn't want the high-stress life his dad had. Semester. The semester at sea. It costs $25,000 plus to spend a semester learning about the oceans on a boat that sails port to port. They also tell you no drugs or alcohol. One of my students didn't listen and brought aboard pot brownies. The staff found out 10 days in. They dropped her off at the first port. No credits. No refund. $25,000 down the drain for pot brownies. Story from my dad. When my dad was in college, one of his roommates was a real piece of work, thought he was better than everyone. Thought he was smarter than everyone. Liked to talk about how wealthy his family was. My dad grew up dirt poor in Missouri with a single mom in the 50s and 60s, and he wasn't going to take any of that. Well, his roommate started taking medication that turned his pee green. And didn't flush the toilet one day. My dad saw and hatched his plan. My dad and his other roommates all got together and convinced this guy that green pee was a symptom of menopause. And that he needed to go to the doctor and to let his doctor know he was going through menopause. This guy was dumb enough to buy it and went to the doctor for menopause. My dad said that the look on this guy's face when he got back after finding out men don't go through menopause was perfect. And the guy shut up about being smarter than everyone else. Spoiled rich kid showed up to school in a $325,000 sports car. He was showing off. Lost control of the car. And drove it through a brick wall and totaled it. Not a person, but a whole community. We live in a very rich school system. With loads of big money parents and their cocky do you know my dad kids. I'm one of the few who isn't. Now, our baseball team has a Team A and a Team B. One which plays in an upper league. And one that plays in a lower league. Me and a few of my friends, who had all played since we were little, played Team B. Like we always do. But this year, our team was filled with the richest brats, all of whom had $700 equipment, and bragged about how good they were. We won our league, and Team A placed in the bottom of theirs. Now, to feel good about themselves, at least I assume, they scheduled an exhibition match with us. We got badly trash talked during the whole pre-game. About how all of our regular metal bats didn't even compare to their beautiful wooden ones with their names carved in and everything like that. Our coach told us not to hold back. We didn't. Fast forward 4 innings. And it's a forfeit from their coach. With a score of 13-0. They've gotten 2 people on base. But other than that, it's been shutout pitching from my brother. I'm his catcher. We had stellar batting all around. And boy, did we feel good about that retribution.